ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emmanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. Today we are going to talk about sales and AI, marketing and sales and AI, and how and why and what tools are being used and successfully and deployed maybe incorrectly. And my guest today is Kristie Jones, and she brings over 20 years of experience as a sales leader, during which she has hired, coached, and trained nearly 650 sales representatives. Her experience spans a range of sales leadership positions from retail to software sales. Since founding the Sales Acceleration Group in 2016, she has served as a sales process strategist, sales coach, hiring consultant, speaker, and executive coach, assisting founders, CEOs, owners, sales leaders, and sales professionals in enhancing their sales processes, strategy, skills, and team to boost revenues. And I know we're going to learn a lot today. Kristie, thank you so much for joining me.
Emmanuel, thanks for having me on.
You betcha. Well, I'm really excited to talk to you today and to find out what you're focused on in the coming year, and kind of what your themes are, both for your business and consultancy and authorship, and then also in your deployments.
Sure. I think I'm spending a lot of time as it relates to AI in automation and efficiency. So, we want sales professionals to be spending majority of their time selling and not doing administrative tasks, which we're happy to pay them for. But really, there's so many things. I was meeting with a group earlier this morning and basically said, like, hey, with the CRM system integrations, automation, all of those things, workflows, they should be put in place, right? There's certain things like just triggers, right? If this, then that. And so I spend a ton of my time making sure that processes are documented and formalized, automated and integrated. So I think that's really where it's at. We can really save salespeople a lot of time in doing the tasks that maybe are more mundane and manual in nature. And there's really no need for that at this point in time. I think from my own business, I'm spending a lot of time with different types of AI in helping to take one piece of content. One of the things I'm doing is taking MP4s from podcasts that I've done and creating content from those. So giving those to my chatbot and saying, hey, I'm helping it build out something fairly complex right now. But I did another podcast a while back where I really outlined the hiring processes, like step by step. Nice. At the end, the podcast host said, that needs to be a white paper. And I was like, oh. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. And so, in the process of doing that. So I think there's, I call it the one, atomizing or one to many. So taking one piece of content and building out lots of different things. So working with another sales professional right now who's just sort of tipping his toe. He's always been on LinkedIn, but he's not really been, I would say he'd been a stalker and not a contributor. And so, but really I said to him, like, you have a perspective, you have a very, definitive industry that you're in. And so you can write a blog post, right? A 1,200 word blog post, and ask it to take it and make it 5 LinkedIn postings. Yeah. And so, I don't think there's any excuse in this day and age for people not to be able to do that, not to be able to take, their, some thought leadership, no matter where you are or what you're doing. And you don't have to be a fabulous writer anymore, because you have tools to help you. Not everybody comes out of school with an English degree or a journalism major. Right. And so, so I think those are the kind of tools that I'm introducing as I'm working with teams and individuals.
That's cool. I'm curious. Are you? How do you help somebody see themselves as a thought leader, right? Like I think a lot of people, number one, everybody hates that word now because
Yep.
we've overused it.
We have overused it. Yep.
We don't have another word to replace it yet, so I'm going to continue to.
Yep.
But yeah, how do you help with the narrative for somebody to say, here's we want to hear what you have to say as somebody with experience in your industry, with a good product and a strong record of fulfilling to your clients, and we need you to do X in order to be in that role.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got an opinion or a position on a particular topic. For me personally, the content that I put out there on social media, the more disruptive, the more engagement, right? And so sometimes I don't take a position. I've been doing a lot of polling recently.
Okay.
I just got results of a poll back today where I did about 30 days after the election, and basically said, hey, like regardless of how you voted, are you feeling better going into 2025 or not as great?
Yeah.
70% said they felt actually better going into 2025. So it didn't matter really how you voted. The fact of the matter is uncertainty was causing angst.
Sure.
And so now that the uncertainty, again, whether you won or you lost, so to speak, it didn't matter. The fact of the matter is you just feel settled because there's this decision.
Yep.
And so, I think a lot of the, I actually personally do a little snooping on Reddit. I spend time on Reddit because it's very interesting, the difference between what people are posting on LinkedIn and what they're posting on Reddit.
Sure.
Reddit being highly anonymous
and unvarnished. Yes.
Yep. And so, I'm hearing, I do a lot, again, like I said, a lot of hiring for my clients as a hiring consultant. And there's a lot of frustration out there amongst candidates that they're being ghosted. People are not getting back to them. They're not having the courtesy of, even a rejection email, even after they've gone through 2 or 3 steps in the process. And really, like in fairness, right now, it really is a buyer's market. And so I wouldn't expect the candidates to be overly thrilled with the situation because there's a lot of great candidates out there and not as many jobs. So, but it is, I snoop around. I'm trying to listen quietly. I'm doing a lot of stalking, if you will, in the background, just to see what is frustrating people and moral dilemmas. There's a lot of moral dilemmas out there. So I think when you're thinking about the industry that you're in and the people, right? What's going to cause them angst? What are some of the moral dilemmas? Writing about those kind of things are always more interesting than writing about boring things.
I like that. Yeah. I think this is interesting that the candidates are feeling ghosted because in my conversations with business owners and CEOs, it's usually the reverse, right? Like that there's especially this group of people who's a little more comfortable online than they are in person. They tend to just get hired. They'll show up for a week. They don't like something that happened, and then they just disappear. They don't even call in or say anything on their way out.
Yeah, I used to have a rule that you had to be there for 4 weeks before I ordered you business cards.
Right. Well, especially in the sales department, and especially if it's a commission-only routine.
For sure, commission-only people. Yeah, I have had that happen a time or two where I business cards are just sitting on their desk and no one shows up on day one. I'm like,
yeah, that's interesting. Well, that's cool. I like that little that secret hack there of being on Reddit to do some research and see what the temperature is. And I agree with you that just having a clear direction one way or the other has helped to take away the anxiety I had. Right, like I didn't know what I was going to do. The classic is when the Democrats are in power, and you're going to go after government contracts because there's more money there, and when the Republicans are in power, you're going to be going after private. And so at least we have a clear direction now.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Are you seeing deployments with like Otter and those types of captures of conversations, both for the sales rep, but then also for the sales manager?
Yeah, those type of tools are invaluable. I use Fathom, and I recommend you use something. In fact, I'm not a paying member. I have a free version, and it doesn't really matter, but it integrates. I'm a HubSpot user and a HubSpot partner. So you just need something. But the funniest thing is the more feedback I get actually are from my prospects and clients. They love getting the summaries.
Oh, nice.
And so whether or not somebody even shows up, as long as they're on the invite, they
Yeah.
get the summary of the meeting. And they love it. They're like, this is great. It doesn't not like anything. It doesn't always get it all right. But it gets it mostly right. And again, that's one of those efficiency tools. Like there's just no excuse. Like
Yep.
there's really no reason. I mean, sending a follow-up email now, like it's practically cut and paste, right? Like,
Yep.
here are the things we talked about. Here were the key takeaways. And we should be, again, like it should be easier than ever to send a follow-up email every time you have a prospecting discovery meeting or a negotiation situation. So those are the kind of things where it just like, that's just a gimme. It just makes it so much easier. I put playbooks together for my clients. I'm now creating playbook bots out of that. So like, having my clients get their own specific bot against their own playbook. And that, again, like it doesn't take any time. It doesn't cost me any money for the most part, but it's a value add and people love it.
Yeah, I think those are good deployments. I love that you're using the bots, the autonomous AI help, because I think that's my theme for 25 is getting all of my clients using this AI staffing, essentially, where anything that's repetitive and needs to be reviewed consistently should be done by software and bring the report to you rather than you going doing the work yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Like you mentioned, sales leaders as well. There's no reason to have to go do manual anything anymore. I mean, reporting, analytics, BI, all of that's out there for the taking. And really, I used to say like I could really manage a sales professional to about 70% using the CRM system and reporting. It's much higher than that.
Yep.
Right. I mean, I can have my one-on-one should be different. My pipeline review meeting should be different now. I should be talking about deal strategies as opposed to going through the pipeline and make sure all of the important fields have been filled out. I mean, that kind of stuff, right? I mean, all that stuff should be just table stakes.
Yep.
And I should be spending my time helping my reps close more deals, working through the idiosyncrasies of those deal, and then coaching, like you mentioned, the automation around that, and even, Gong, Fathom, those type of things. I mean, you get it, like it'll pop up, right? I mean, like this morning I was teaching. So it said, you've been speaking 74% of the time. And I'm like, good. And they're getting their money's worth. That's exactly what's supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
But really, and then self-coaching, right? I mean, not only should we be coaching as sales leaders, but as sales professionals, we need to be doing our own coaching. So we should be listening to calls. We should be getting the data feedback on ourselves. How many questions did we ask? How many follow-up questions did we ask? How many times at what percentage were we listening versus talking?
Right.
What are the common themes or objections that we're hearing that we need to make sure that we can tackle? So all of that out there, like everybody should just be getting better and better. And unfortunately, I don't know that we are.
Well, yeah, I think we're in that interesting spot, right? I think where the bubble of AI has been on us. There's those of us who have taken it on to learn about as much as we can and integrate it. The highly functioning companies are going AI first, human in the loop, review your KPIs, make sure you're getting the outcomes that you want from it, and then innovation. Like that's what functional companies with functional deployments are doing. We know that most people are still scared of it. You're only talking about a third of adaptation up to this point, even still, right? After 18 months after ChatGPT.
Yeah, and I don't think that people. I mean, I was at a conference in Denver last month, and we did a session. We did an hour-and-a-half session on AI. Most important thing I learned were, just again, like it's prompts. And I think that's the stuff that people don't understand. Like they understand how ChatGPT works. They may be a paid user, but it's how you're teaching it and what you're telling it. Like it's all about prompts. And I learned, I mean, like I didn't know everything. We had some great prompts that were shared about how to build out one piece of content into many, and how to teach your Chat GPT to do that. So I think those are things that if you, again, like once you try it, it becomes a lot easier, right? And it really is, it really is like giving it. You have to think about it as it, the more you spend time with it, you're training it all along, the more it understands you and your language. But even like 6 or so months ago, I read an article by John Barrows, and he had said that, he taught me how to kind of go behind the scenes and tell him who I was and what I did and what kind of companies I worked with and how I like my information. Now it went overboard because I said I like it, be brief, be bright, be gone. So now I get like 4 bullet points and then it's out of there.
Right.
Now I have to go back and go like, if you could elaborate a little bit on bullet point number 2, that would be great.
Yeah.
So it is definitely a be careful what you ask for, but I mean, it takes like anything, you've got to put the time and effort in. And not only to not be scared and to just even understand how it's working, but then to refine. So like, I do like my information brief and bright and quick, but that was it was like, okay, I need a little more information than just the 4 bullet points that I'm getting. So you got to go back and retrain.
Yeah. Beautiful. No, I agree. And I have a couple of pieces that I've written about prompting, because it is, for this time period that we're in now, it's the most important part. I think in 3 years, it's going to be way more intuitive, and we'll just point it to some reference docs and some cut and paste prompts or however it works then, and it'll be magic. But right now, we have to be in charge at a much deeper level of the prompting. I agree.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I got the box that you sent me with your book, and I have to say, I don't gush a lot about marketing because I'm kind of an old, stodgy, crusty guy, but you really did an amazing job of putting together a really complete package that really feels professional and got my attention. So I would just love for you to talk a little bit about the process that you went through to put the unboxing experience together.
Sure. I wanted it to be a little bit of an experience. So, along with the book, I provided what I call Kristieism cards, a deck of cards with all my favorite phrases on them. I have a chapter in the book of Kristieisms, and really over time, like you have, again, as a sales trainer, you have to get people's attention. So you got to be a little witty about things, and you got to have little catchphrases that'll get their attention and stick. So we, my assistant and I spent some time with like literally everything from tissue paper to the logo and stickers and the red box. We knew we needed it to stand out. So we put a lot of time and energy. She did a great job. I was very excited, and people who've gotten the box have been very excited about that. But I think to me, it's part of the whole process. The book itself took 2 years. It was a 2-year process. And it was a multi-layered approach. And it took a lot of time and energy. And when you've written a book, so you understand when you put that much time and energy into something, how it gets presented to the world matters. Sure. And so I think it was just kind of flowed from how important the whole process of writing the book was for me.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful, well placed together. I love your take on sales because it integrates so much good marketing into it also. And so I think in that way, you're a great example of how the two disciplines get integrated in order to get good results. So I'd just love to have you talk a little bit about 2 or 3 of the primary principles that you represent in selling your way in.
Yeah. I think the reason I wrote the book is I see a lot of people who I think are in the wrong seat on the bus, if you will. So I'm old school. I can go all the way back to from good to great. And really, there's so many sales roles. I just hear people say a lot of times, like, I'm in sales, or I want to be in sales, or I've got a friend who might want to be in sales. Can you talk to them? And I said, well, what kind of sales? And they kind of look at me like it doesn't make sense to them, right? They're like, I don't understand. And I said, and you mentioned earlier, like, you can be an insurance sales or a real estate agent. You can be 100% commission. You can be outside or inside. You can be selling a product or service. There's so many different varieties. And I think I see so many salespeople picking the wrong role. And so they're never going to get to the top 10%, right? Mm-hmm. They put themselves in the wrong sales role or position, selling the wrong thing into the wrong industry with the wrong company and the wrong sales leader. And so when you think about all the levers that go into that, so, figuring out your sales superpowers first and foremost. What do you do better than everybody else around you? Yep. What do people come and ask advice about? what are you the go-to person for X? And then, and then really deciding, again, even within, let's just say, I specialize in software sales. Even within that, do I sell into the, am I better selling into the mid-market? Do I have a better connection with those individuals? What about the types of personas? Do I do better with the IT folks or the HR folks? Very different personas. And I don't think, I think I always say this is just so ironic because we spend so much time talking about our ICP and, who are we going to go out and prospect to? And we figure all about it. We write at that ICP out and our personas and we know everything about them. But we don't take our own career and take the same approach. I say a recruiter calls you and says, boy, do I got a gig for you. And you're flattered and you're like, oh, look, I must be really I must be really in demand over here. But that doesn't mean that's just because they saw something on your LinkedIn profile that got their attention doesn't mean it's a good idea for you.
Right.
And so when you look at the stats where, fewer than 60% of sales professionals are even coming close to quota, like even getting to 80% of quota, yes, there's some reasons that are potentially out of their control. I work in the startup world, right? So venture capital loves to put the big number out there.
Absolutely.
They want their money back. We got it. But I also think that the onus is on the sales professional, right? If you don't really know yourself and know what you should be selling, whether that's product or service, how do you like to be rewarded? Are you a high risk profile person where you love that 100% commission is all great, or are you a lower risk person and maybe you should be in customer success because you get a little variable compensation, but you get a bigger base. If you don't really understand all of the options out there, how on earth could you pick the right role for you? So I set out, first and foremost to help people in the first third of the book really figure out who they are. I call it get to know yourself before you get to know the prospects. And then once you figure that piece out, then no matter who you're working for, you need to take their process. And again, as the process expert over here, it needs to be documented. It needs to be formalized. I like a good written process. But you need to be able to, again, to customize it or tailor it to your special skill set, right? That sales superpower that you have. So if your superpower is in discovery and questioning, or if it's in negotiation, or if it's in, implementation. Again, people don't think about the fact, like in the software world I live in, the implementation or onboarding specialist is part of the sales team. There's all of those types of roles. So once you figure out, what you should be doing, then making sure that within a formal process that we hope that your company has, then how do I play to my strengths, right?
Yep.
In order to put myself in that top 10% and be that kind of person. And then I think lastly, people don't really spend enough time thinking about the top 10%ers around them and what they're doing differently. And so I spend the last third of the book talking about what I call the mental side of sales. And, I could be sitting next to you all day long and hearing what you're saying and you're, getting to the top. And I'm like, but I'm saying what Emmanuel's saying and I'm not getting to the top and I don't understand why. Well, you probably don't know what he's doing outside of work, right? I say the work to get to the top doesn't actually happen at work. It happens outside of work. So, when I interview candidates, one of the questions I ask all the time is, tell me about formal sales, soft skills training you've been provided.
Yeah.
And the answer comes back, I haven't.
Right.
And that's a consistent, that's about the art of sales. People aren't teaching the art of sales anymore. We're getting a little wrapped up in AI and the science of sales. And then my follow-up question to that is, well, then what have you done for yourself? Right? Because if you're, again, shame on your sales leader for not providing that type of training, but then shame on you for not taking it upon yourself. And so, if you look at the top 10% in any industry, they're eating well, they're getting enough sleep, they're working out, they have their circle matters, they have a spiritual or religious practice. They're doing things differently. The other people just
don't. They probably have a coach also that's not being paid for by the company.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. And they're doing something different, right? And they're investing in themselves, the bottom line, right?
Yep.
And they understand that all of those things make a difference. And so, I spend the last part of the book as a former athlete. I just took all those things that I learned as an athlete and I brought them to the business world because I, understand, I say the number one reason why people aren't being successful is lack of discipline.
Yeah. And hopeful thinking, right?
Like hope is not a strategy. And rose colored glasses do exist though. I've seen them.
Oh, well, that's good. I appreciate you breaking that down. I appreciate your time and conversation today. It's gone by very quickly. And if people want to get in touch with you or get your book, what's the best way to make that happen?
Yep. To grab the book, go to sellingyourwayin.com and it'll take you to all the favorite places that you like to buy books. But I'm sure that if you have a favorite place, it's got the book and can get it for you. And then I would love for people to connect with me on LinkedIn and drop me a note and let them know what the one takeaway from our conversation today is.
All right. Well, Kristie, thank you very much. I'm grateful that you spent this time with me, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Okay, you too. Bye. Well, thanks for joining me today. I enjoyed my conversation with Kristie, and I love the fact that she's talking about discipline and the mental side of being a professional, not just in sales, but in business in general. And also this idea of playbook bots and looking and seeing how you can get the AI software trained up to help you do tasks that are redundant, repetitive, and not any fun, and should be done by software anyway. So thanks for joining me today. Look forward to talking with you again.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emmanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again.